Hey everybody, I think we're live. I think it's happening. It's happening right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Overland Radio. My name is Michael. This is the AllOver Overland show. You might remember it was wildly popular a couple of years ago, and then I moved to Alaska, and then there weren't any more shows. But we're back, and we're gonna have a good time. Lee should be joining us here pretty soon, and he'll make sure that we get everything shared here. In fact, he might be doing that right now, not on with us. So hopefully that's getting out there. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going live on YouTube. We used to go live on Facebook, but Facebook has a lot of weird rules now, and Lee doesn't like it. So we only go live on YouTube right now, but we have the links. We'll have the links on all the other pages. Today, my special guest is a good friend of mine that we were just talking about. We met 6 years ago at the More Expo. The very first More Expo. We met at the Artemis parking lot. You rolled in with your Jeep, and Lee had the Opus trailer probably already set up, and we all hung out in there.
I followed the smell of tacos.
Yeah. We were cooking things and making things. So, girl, you're so busy. What are you up to right now? Where are you at? What are you doing?
Right now, I'm in northern Wisconsin. Getting ready for tomorrow is the 4th Midwest Women's Off-Road Weekend.
Right on.
Yeah, we've got about 30 ladies coming up for just, we're going to do some classes, some education. We've got Carrie Porter from Discover 4x4 Adventures.
Right on. Love her. Yeah.
We've got Katie Abraham. And Lisa Addington is coming with her. Jill Carr is going to be doing some presentations, and I will be talking about stuff navigational wise and map wise, which is super cool because not a lot of people know this, but for the first time in I don't know, maybe ever, I'll have to do some research on that.
Maybe ever.
Well,
okay.
Wisconsin is going to have public off-road trails. Supported by sticker, you get your little yearly sticker.
Like a permit.
Yep, and that'll go towards maintenance and upkeep and whatnot, and it's in Langlade County, Wisconsin. So super, super excited about that. We were kind of knew about it a couple years ago, that it was in the planning stages.
So what is it that they're opening up to be like for the permit? I mean, are these previously roads that were closed?
They're roads that have specific features that they have different level of trails. So you can have some hard trails, some goofy stuff, some buggy trails, and you can go in there and that, those rock obstacles and those mud pits and all that stuff are legal to go on part of the trail. If that's what you're looking for, is for maintained off-road trails specifically for Jeeps and trucks. That's what we're looking at. Anybody?
Well, very cool.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
We're super excited. In fact, we may have been the first group on that trail system.
That's even more exciting. Yeah. That's very cool. So tell me a little bit about this woman. So it's a women's, what is it called again?
It's called the Midwest Women's Off-Road Weekend. I started a little Facebook group called Midwest Women's Off-Road Network. It's just basically gals around the upper Midwest, or actually we've got gals that come to the event from Idaho, from Alabama, from Arkansas, Michigan, Ohio, all over. But it's basically a social group, but we get together once a year and go on trails and, like I said, get together, do some clinics, demos, recovery stuff. We've had first aid, pet ER, like if you're out in the middle of the woods with your dog,
if your little puppy gets hurt or something.
Yep, and all sorts of different things that can be useful. And then there's a lot of really talented, accomplished, experienced wheelers that come.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of gals that have yet to take their truck off-road. So we just embrace every one of those and share knowledge and do it all without our husbands nagging us or, telling us that we hit.
See, and that's something, as a man, I forget sometimes that it's sometimes harder or intimidating for some women, not all women. I'm not saying all, but there's some women out there that's intimidating and, they don't, us men can be assholes when we teach.
Well,
And
and
so,
that's what the point of the whole thing is, to take any dynamic out that's in a
yeah.
pre-established relationship with all of that baggage, like you
Uh-huh.
always do this, or you never listen, or that's not what I said. Well, you just want to take that out, you know?
Yeah, that's why people have asked me, like, coming back from Alaska, talking about couples. This is like couple therapy real quick. So I always tell people, don't drive to Alaska. If you're going to Alaska to see Alaska, don't drive to Alaska. You're gonna spend 2 weeks driving, well, at least a week driving there and a week driving back. And I said, you're gonna ruin your Alaska trip if you're with your wife or husband, whatever, and you've spent a week trying to get there and you've had 5 fights already, and now you're not going to enjoy Alaska. Just fly up there, rent a vehicle from Alaska Overlander. It's probably going to be cheaper in the long run to do it that way. But yeah, it's family, and the people that you love will talk to you differently than people that you don't love.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that's what we've got going on. It's super fun, and I just, it's just good to get out with a bunch of girls and do something fun.
Yeah.
When we first went on those trails, one of the local 4x4 clubs that's working on that with the county came out and guided us around, and they were like, you're just gonna follow us. If you get in trouble, if you need to winch, that's all on you. And afterwards, they were like, man, you girls rocked. Like, you didn't look at us for nothing, when they had to, do any sort of recovery or guiding or whatever. These girls are top notch.
I'm
And that's why,
trying
hey,
so
like they're not good drivers for girls. They're just excellent drivers.
Gotcha.
Period.
I'm trying to figure out if we've got the chat going. And
That would be a good thing because chat is fun. I'm gonna look. Now you got me curious.
I'm having a hard time
All right.
navigating. So this is a whole new system that we use than what we used before. So a lot of this stuff I'm just not as
I
familiar
see
with.
a live chat. Chrissy G says, "What up, homies?"
Right? Why is this so much different than before? Huh.
And I said, "Hey yo."
Okay. Well, I should be able to, and then my eyesight's not as good as it. Oh, there we go. There's your hey yo. I think I figured it out. What up, homies?
There
There
we
we
go.
go. I think I'm getting this. There's too many extra buttons. There used to not be so many buttons. And I don't know if it stays on there forever or if it goes away. What's that button do? Well, it'll go away when, oh, there it goes. Okay, cool. All right. A new trick that I found, a new dog and pony show.
There you go.
One of the reasons that, well, let's back up a little bit. So I don't want to get to what's happening in a couple of weeks yet, because we both
I
hung
think I
out at
lost you,
more. I
dude.
mean, not very long because I had to help Lee so much. But you again took
You
over
are
the camping
frozen.
area and did a phenomenal job.
There, I see you back. I think you hit one of those buttons.
Oh, maybe so. What I was saying was that saw you at the More Expo, and you were managing the. Lee, I can hear everything in the background. Took over the camping
That's
area
the
and did
culprit.
a phenomenal
There
job.
it is. There, I see you back. I think you
Can
hit
you
one of
hear
those
us, Lee?
buttons.
Maybe so. What I was saying, I can hear your headphones aren't working,
You were managing hot Mike Lee.
or you've got it playing in the background. There you go. Why is he being weird?
Because he's Lee.
I don't like it. Anyway,
More Expo.
More Expo. We got to see each other at More Expo. The camping was, I mean, I hadn't been in a couple of years, but the camping was phenomenal this year. You did a really good job. I felt like it was really set up really good. And I think it's been probably every year, but it was pretty slick this year.
We are so thankful to be able to greet everybody coming in. You don't know, like, when you see all these rigs and all these smiling faces, and
Yeah,
they're
you get to
so,
say hi to everybody.
yeah, and you get to see all these cool things, and walk around to campsites and like, oh, I never thought of that. And just everybody's happy, and you hand them a swag bag as they come in. It just makes for an awesome start to a great weekend, and just happy, so thankful to Chris for the opportunity to be able to come in and take care of his campers and that community, and it's just an awesome weekend. We had so much fun.
I will say that you did let me down just a little bit.
Good Lord.
There were no Northern Lights drinks.
I am the light.
Lee, what are you doing?
That's getting deep, is what I'm thinking. Can you hear me?
Am I hearing? I'm hearing myself still.
I can hear Lee, but I can hear Michael's echo. I can say hear my
Yeah.
echo.
I can't hear.
We're
anybody.
hearing
I can't hear
echoes.
anybody's echo.
Well, it's you because it happened when you came on.
Must be. I don't know why.
It's got to be your microphone.
Hello.
Do you have this playing in two different places?
No.
Am I gonna have to kick him out?
You may.
I think he's
to.
doing this.
I don't
so
know
that
why. It's. Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of a cool like these MTV effect.
Yeah. It's probably something with me coming in last minute and me not just being a attendee, but also being an admin.
What's crazy is that I don't hear the echo when you talk. It's only when we talk.
Yeah. And there's an echo cancellation thing, but I can't do it while it's being recorded. I can't change it. So
Okay, bye.
have fun.
Okay, see ya.
Oh boy, did we get off topic there?
Wow. Well, I mean, we had to kick him out. So now everything's going to go smooth again. So I appreciate that he tried. Hey, Lee, while you're watching, go ahead and share this out to everybody. Make sure that you tag Cindy in it and share it to all the things. All the things. As we get going. So we kind of hit on more real quick. That was kind of a F up because of Lee. But let's go into the real reason why you're here. Other than being a good friend, you've got an amazing event, and this is the first one, correct?
This is the first iteration of this new thing. Yes, I've done events in the past, and this is kind of, the same recipe.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing it with a new partner, and hello Noah, shout out. And we've broken free of the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's called Range to Ranch.
Love the
and
name.
It is in the valley between the Lost River Range and the White Knob Mountains, just north of Mackay, Idaho. And it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And you've pimped somebody out to help kind of get the news out. Will?
Yes.
That's all. I love that dude. We've had him on a couple times. He is amazing and has an amazing
hope he's
channel.
Watching. So this is funny. I had sent Will a message and I said, "Hey Will, what are you doing on this weekend, the 19th through the 22nd of June?" And he's like, "I don't have anything on my schedule. Why?" And I ghosted him. I didn't mean to.
Oh, really?
I didn't respond or whatever. And a few weeks later, he sends me another message. He's like, "How are you doing an event in Idaho and I don't know about it?"
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, you remember that message I sent you asking what you were doing that weekend, and then I ghosted you? That was kind of like what that was about. So, bless his heart. He's so positive, and I absolutely love his storytelling and his videography.
His storytelling is on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Like there's a few guys that really tell a good story whenever they bring in the history and then just the way did you know that he's a theater kid? That's why he's so good at that part of it.
I did not know that, but that makes a lot of sense. I am actually married to a theater kid and musician.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he's a theater kid. So that helps him, that training that he had done. I want to say, well, I know it was high school. I don't know if he did it in college or not, but he's a theater kid.
It's not even that. It's just the things he brings up. Like they did the Magruder Corridor, and he talked about how, and I probably am going to get this wrong, but these guys got ambushed and killed, and their friends hunted down the killers and brought them to justice. And basically, just kind of blowing my mind about how that whole tragedy was actually a story about friendship.
Yeah.
about how, his friend wasn't going to rest until they hunted down the killers and they were successful at it. And it's kind of, I don't know, you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're on this cool trail inside of a mountaintop and you run across like a rundown old log cabin and you wonder what
You
happened.
wonder, like, what's
Yeah.
the story on that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love the stories he tells. And I know a couple of videos ago he was at the historical museum and, just I find like take the Upper Peninsula for example. I host the Keweenaw Overland Adventure Retreat, or we call it CORE. And when I first started going to that, I was like, oh, it's so beautiful here, natural beauty, Lake Superior, the deep woods and all this stuff. And the more you go, the more you're like, what is that big giant industrial structure that looks like it was abandoned in 1894? You start digging into the history and getting very interested in it. There's lots of copper mining history up there from prehistoric times on. And then there's also Cold War history with an abandoned radar base that basically was eyes to the skies during the Cold War to alert us if the Russians were coming over the poles. So just the fact that Will weaves all history into that or is interested in it hits a chord with me. And I just also love the videography. He does such a great job.
Yeah. I get so wrapped up in the moment of the adventure. And I'm a history guy, so I like history, but it's not something that just jumps into the front of my brain when I'm looking at mountain peaks and valleys and dirt roads. Like, I mean, I kind of think what was life like, but I don't go as far as finding out what's the story what's the major story that happened on this trail. Like, it's amazing that he does that. I love it in his videos. I'm glad that not everybody does it, because it's kind of his thing, and a few other people kind of hit on the history, and I think it's amazing. But enough about Will. Who cares about Will? What we're talking about is range to ranch. Now, tell me how this got started. So, how'd the idea come up? Other than just getting out of the Midwest, but kind of range to ranch. The name, is there a meaning there? Give us the information.
Well, I got a random call from a guy out of Spokane who said that he had the opportunity to work with some people that were looking into getting into the event space and wanted to know if I wanted to partner on an event. And I said, wait, whoa, where is this at? And he dropped me a pin and I said, holy cow. Just a few months ago, I had driven through that area and my jaw just dropped. Like,
It is
you
unbelievable.
dude, like you don't even know like the amount of elevation change between the valley floor and the tallest peak in Idaho is right there.
Oh,
Is
really?
jaw dropping. Yeah. The Lost River Range, I don't know how many they got, like X amount of all of Idaho's 12,000 plus peaks right there.
Is that the area that they call the mini Swiss Alps?
I
I
know
want to say
Will's
there's an
referred it to it as that.
I think I don't, and maybe it's local people refer to it. I've heard
Yeah.
it called that a few times, but I didn't know if that was the same area. I'm assuming it probably is.
I have no knowledge of that, but I know that as you're standing in well, we've got this large field there that we're going to camp in with the ranch as the backdrop, and behind that, these mountains rise up. You could just sit there all day and watch.
And just sit there and drink your
Yeah, it's
coffee
just
and
beautiful. But, fun fact, you can also go explore those mountains. We went actually not into the Lost River Range, but into Copper Basin, and that was absolutely stunning. I will say, though, that people that live in the mountains drive like maniacs.
oh yeah.
I had to tell, like, we had Blake Service. He was the founder of the Teton Overland show. He's got a new charity. I should shout that out. The Hero Charity helping. I can never remember the acronym. Anyway, that's
What
beside
was
the
the name?
point.
You remember the name of the charity though? We
A
can go look
Hero
it up.
Charity, yeah.
Hero Charity. Okay.
Heroes, something about recreating outdoors. Anyway, it's for vets and first responders. But anyway, I had to remind him, dude, slow down. I don't do this all the time. And they're
Yeah.
hurtling down these like steep grades and hairpin curves and all this stuff, leaving me in the dust. And I'm like,
So these are the trail leaders for
Well,
So right.
I was meeting up with Blake because we wanted to talk about helping out the charity. They will take some people out if they want to go.
Gotcha.
But yeah, fun fact, Inspired Overland donated a rooftop tent and we're going to give it away in a raffle.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, it was pretty
Well,
cool.
that's super cool. I, that's way cool. So if you're going, you could win a new tent.
Yes.
Yeah. How'd you come up with the name? Like, I know, like, you're pretty imaginative, and there's probably is there a meaning behind the name, or is it just came to you?
Well, we had the venue first, and I just knocked some things back and forth, lots of different ideas.
Yeah.
We spent probably way too much time talking about that, but we kind of wanted for it to be
The
just,
name is one of the hardest things to come up with. What do you mean spent way too much time?
oh,
You
yeah,
have
well,
to spend a ton of time.
you are right. You don't know how many iterations of the word north I went through to get Northology.
Right? When I did the all over overland, whenever I was coming up with that, and I mean I know it's a mouthful, but I kept saying I want it to be an overland because it was just a Facebook page basically when I started. I
Yeah.
want it to be an overland group that's all over. And I kept saying that. I was like, I want it to be an overland group that's all over. And every time I tried to come up with a new name, I was like, that's not giving me that all over the map kind of feel. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just calling it all over Overland.
Yeah, well, I think it was just basically, Lost River Range or Mountain Range,
Yeah,
and then, kind of a ranch setting down in the valley.
I love it. Yeah,
It's just kind of stuck. And when we thought about it and kept thinking about it, and there were a few others, and I don't even remember what they were at this point. But we just thought, yeah, range to ranch retreat. We can triple R or RR or whatever. And so there it is. Yeah.
it's all about the logo, isn't it? You gotta have a name that makes a cool logo also.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
can
you got to.
you can make anything into a cool logo, but it does kind
Pretty
of look
much
like
now, yeah.
a brand with a little flame, the two R's back to back. So like you could go brand a cow with our range to ranch.
There you go.
In fact, Jared with Shop Overland Apparel has designed us hat patches that look like they're burnt.
They look like they're burnt in. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So super cool. Shout out
Very
to
cool.
Jared.
So tell me a little bit about, so we've got, now what are the dates? Let's throw that out there. We probably should talk about when this event is
3
happening.
weeks from today.
It's like around the corner. So is
June
it the night?
Yep, 19th through the 22nd. So you roll in Thursday afternoon, set up camp, vendor village, and the education center will be open. And then on Friday and Saturday, during the day, you go out and explore. You go to the Mackey Rodeo. You can go to the mine tour. You go explore Lost River Range. Go to Copper Basin. There's a music festival in Stanley that weekend you can pop in at. We do also have 30-minute backcountry tours, flights that'll take off from Mackey Airport. Um, yeah, that's going to be super cool. One of my friends in McCall is a pilot with Sawtooth Flying Service.
Huh?
So he's going to spend Friday morning flying over the mountains. That's going to be amazing.
So when people sign up, is there a way to sign up for that? How does someone get to do the flight?
It's a ticket. Yep, you just go on the website and buy a ticket, buy your
Gotcha.
camping pass, and then buy your flight, your 30-minute flight.
Okay. And just pick the time you want to go and
Yep,
show up at the time and
yep,
go fly around, go see
yep,
stuff.
yep.
Very cool. Very cool. I forgot to mention to everybody out there, I am drinking some whiskey today. I have some Screwball peanut butter whiskey. I know you got the clear stuff. Jeez, going hard today. Cindy, why would you do that to us? You're just gonna be
Okay,
falling over soon.
out of the last 7 days, I've been on the road for 5 of them. I
You need
am
some hydration.
dehydrated. That
Yeah,
mountain
alcohol
air is,
probably wouldn't be a good idea
yeah,
today.
that mountain air is dry.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I got this and in Alaska, and I liked it. And we would put some rum chata or some Baileys in with it, and then also Coke. Coke works too. That's what I'm doing right now. So,
Because I
oh
always think peanut butter when I think Alaska.
yeah, I mean that's what you probably should think. Peanut butter salmon. Ooh, that sounds kind of good.
You're too
I tell
much.
you what, I didn't realize how bad the salmon is down here until I was in Alaska.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, it's just the
Well, it's kind of
salmon
like,
that the salmon you would go buy here in the store, granted, that's the only way you can get it, is the same color in Alaska that you would feed the dogs. Like you wouldn't eat that. That's dog food. And so as you're getting your salmon together and gonna freeze it, you basically have your dog food pile and your eating pile. And the redder it is, the better. If
the
it's
redder
kind
the
of a
better.
orangish color, then
I
it's
like
not
that.
good.
It's funny because, the beef jerky out west is completely different than your Jack Link's bull crap.
Yeah, completely different.
They got
Yeah.
all those little local beef jerkeries or whatever.
Yeah. Jerkerias, jerk.
Jerkeries. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it's just kind of hang out and go do the trails and follow the schedule for the classes and make sure you're doing that. Go jump on the plane when you're doing that. But like most events, people get there and they start meeting friends and they go, hey, let's go do a trail. And then next thing you know, 30 people are going down the road that never met because they camp next to each other, which
Yeah.
is the coolest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also, Friday night and Saturday night, are going to have some live music.
Nice.
So some local folks are going to come out and play for us, and I think it's going to be amazing. They're both pretty cool. So one of them is Landon Vance out of McCall, and then Jay and I think they're from Pocatello or Idaho
Okay.
Falls, but yeah, that's going to be fun too. And then, of course, we'll have a whole bunch of goodies to give away on Saturday night. We also, along with the Hero Charity, we're going to have Idaho State 4x4 Association there and the Mountain West Recreation Coalition.
Okay.
I have chatted with Ben and William from Blue Ribbon Coalition, talking about getting them out there to speak with people about the land access and preservation issues.
Hmm.
And of course, we always have support from Lee's favorite, Tread Lightly. And
I'm getting fired up.
yeah,
He's fired up right now watching.
he's
Like
watching.
he's like that son
He's
of a
going to
bitch.
jump right in. So, yeah. And also, we've got what we call Creator Camp. I did this last year at Overland the Red. Thank you, Adam Rubin, with Dog in a Jeep. He brought a projector.
Adam, I know Adam.
Yeah, brought a projector. And I feel like all you Alaska people know each other, but
It's a small town.
yeah. Did some did some YouTube screenings. They watched a movie one night. Adam made some queso and had chips, and so basically, like an hour or so to hang out with some of the YouTubers and just create community that way too. So
Very good. Yeah,
we'll have
Adam was
some
up in
some very
Fairbanks.
very
And
famous ones there besides Will. Can I
gotcha,
can
gotcha.
I name drop?
You can name drop all you want.
Well, Matt and Kara are coming. Matt and Kara McClellan. Rob with Generation Overland's coming. Jason with All Things Overlanding. All overlanding things.
Yeah, I was first, by the way. He tried to tell me, and then we went back and looked, and I think I beat him by about a year.
Yeah. And of course, Will. I know I'm forgetting some. Oh, Enoch with Malaysia X Ventures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love Enoch. Also coming out to represent All Dogs Off-Road
Yeah,
Co-op. So
yeah, yeah.
super happy about that. It's just awesome. I love that, I don't do huge events. They're smaller, boutique-y. They're not expos at all. They're vendor supported community
Hmm.
gatherings pretty much.
Yeah.
And I just it just warms my heart afterwards. I see the videos come out and see how much fun they had and how they explored the trails and how they saw where they were through their eyes, which is a
Hmm.
cool experience. And then I look at the like view counts and I'm like, holy crap, 50,000 people saw this video. You
Isn't that
know,
crazy? Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. So, in fact,
Well, very.
the very first event I did, the first Keweenaw Overland Adventure Retreat, this guy calls me out of nowhere. This really weird guy. He's like, "Hey, I do video. Can I come to your event and shoot video?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess it's something I don't have to do."
Yeah.
And he made such an awesome video that like people from my team, when they watched it, they messaged me. Like when I got to the end, I had a tear in my eye. And so, huge shout out to Jeremiah from
I knew that's who you were gonna say.
Overland
When
Pioneers.
you
Was
said
like,
weird, I was like, perfect.
yeah,
I know
it's
exactly who
just
that
like
is.
you don't know who you don't know. It was, I'd never heard of him before, but then
Yeah.
I went and saw that he had just been to the Upper Peninsula, and I was like, he gets it. He loves it, and he wants to come back, so let's take a chance on that. And it's been an amazing, amazing friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. I just rewatched their video whenever they did the tat. And so I just rewatched that whole video. He had his dad with him in Braxton and stuff. So it's kind
Oh
of
yeah, that was a
kind of
fun
fun.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Came through
really like.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, the one where he went to Newfoundland and like that was National Geographic level with
Yeah.
the whales and the shoreline and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
So we've got that event coming up soon. Can people still get their tickets? Like, is registration still open? How's that
uh,
work?
there's probably about 10 tickets left,
Okay. So you need to get on it.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
come out and hang out with us and have a great time and create some great memories and see some beautiful things.
And
And
then you just mentioned, like your first event. So tell us about all the different things that you currently have on your yearly calendar. So you've got your Northology magazine that comes online magazine that comes out. So let's hit on that real quick before we get into the other events, because this is an amazing piece of work that you put together. I've had an article in it once or twice, once I think, with the Alaska stuff, and it's amazing. I love getting it, reading it, watching it, whatever, on the screen, all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about that and give us the quick version of the Northology story.
well, the Northology story actually started with Instagram. I just started sharing my adventures, and by the time I figured out what I wanted to do, I already had like a built-in audience that I had made a connection with. So it was kind of easy to go from there. And so like I guess it was October of 2019. For those of you that know this story, I'm sorry I'm going to tell it again, but my husband, I mean, I'd always wanted to go full time. I had a couple events going, and I had this great idea to do all these others. And my husband sends me a message. I was at my job, and he goes, "I believe in you. Put in your 2 week notice." And we knew that it was going to happen, and I wasn't gonna, he don't tell me what to do, but um, I just,
Unless it's nice.
yeah, I felt at
Unless
that
it's what I
point,
want to hear.
yeah, that was the push and whatever I needed. So I put in my 2 week notice. I didn't last another 5 minutes. I was out of there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but here's the thing, fast forward. So, like, I had done that was the 2019. So, 2020. Guess what happened in early 2020? I had a whole slew of events I was going to do, and this damn pandemic happens. And I'm like, what have I done? I just quit my job a couple months before.
Oh,
I
that
did,
had to be scary.
oh, it was terrifying. I put all these events on the schedule, and here you can't go anywhere. By March they had closed everything down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Um so I just, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I canceled my events, and two of my friends actually, Chris Offenwinger and my friend Doug Campbell had been before told me, you should do a magazine. You should do a magazine. I'm like, nobody reads magazines anymore. I'm not going to publish a magazine or a paper magazine and mail stuff out. No way. But here I am with nothing to do, no schedule. So I was like, well, ring, ring, ring. Hey, so and so, I'm going to start a magazine. Would you like to advertise in it? And by golly, I got people to say yes. and I
Isn't
started
that
this
crazy? Yeah.
magazine, and it's been like this June, Sunday, I believe that's, you know, the fifth year of, I've got 5 years of magazines once a month come out. I tell people the pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to my business,
Isn't that crazy?
and it kind of is true.
Yeah. It's the scariest, best thing. Like, I mean, I think you would have had crazy success if we didn't have the pandemic. Don't get me wrong. I think it would have been amazing. But the pandemic probably helped you in the fact that people needed that outlet to escape from the four walls that they were sitting in.
Yeah, yeah. And with fewer events in person, like I remember, I was at the Chicago Auto Show with Chi-Town 4x4 in February, shaking hands with people from all over the world. And then that show goes like 2 weekends or a whole week, weekend to weekend. But that following that last weekend was the More Expo. So then I hightailed it down there. And if that was the first year of the More Expo, that was when I met you and Lee.
Yeah.
And that was in Valentine's weekend. Because remember, it used to
Yes.
be on Valentine's weekend. And then 2 weeks later, the first weekend in March, Todd with TC Teardrops
Yeah.
was loading in his trailers to the Alliance, or it's at the Alliance Center in Madison for Canoecopia, which is the world's largest paddle sports expo. While they were loading in, Darren came in and pulled the plug and says, "No, we can't do this. Everybody out." So within 2 weeks from the Chicago Auto Show to Canoecopia, like the world just imploded.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
Oklahoma City was on the map for COVID because that was the first basketball game that was shut down. Everybody had to leave before the game even started because somebody tested positive on the team. And then that right then was when all sports were done. And they
yep,
started, and I think that's when all events and all of those places got closed, is right when that happened here in Oklahoma City.
yeah.
Craziness. And now we're going to go win the NBA Finals. I'm so excited. So, anyway,
I played 4 years of varsity basketball, and I don't give a crap about basketball.
well, I didn't play any varsity high school basketball, and I I was a big fan when they had Russ, Kevin Durant, like when all that was new and they were young. And then when they left and everything fell apart, and then of course I was in Alaska, so I kind of fell off the map. But in the last year or two, probably last year and a half, I've kind of gotten back into it with this young group. Anyway, we're not going to talk about sports ball. I know that Overlanders hate talking about sports. Every time I'm around them, they're like, "Sports ball? Why did you do that? You go camping on the weekends. You don't watch football. You go camping."
Dude, you have such a great point though, because I realized, I mean, my whole family is huge Packer fans, but I was driving home on a Sunday once from Wisconsin south, and there was nobody on the road because everybody's at the dang basketball or
Yeah,
football game.
football
And I
game.
was like, this is amazing. There's no traffic, and there's
No one out.
so many better things to do on a Sunday than to watch television. So,
Well, and the beginning of football season is the best time to go camp because that's fall.
yes,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah, it
Absolutely.
is the absolute best time to get out there and to go camp. So anyway, that's super funny. So okay, so that's Northology, and you've got other things. Like, tell me about some of the other events that you guys do and
Oh,
when they happen, because you've got some yearly events that kind of happen every year. So let's talk about maybe one or two of those.
yeah, well, I also admin a Facebook group called Wisconsin Overland. So in the winter, January, February, we're out camping in the woods in the snow, sometimes in a blizzard. Sometimes I go to my cabin because my camper isn't ready. But anyway, that's beside the point. And then, of course, the More Expo in April, basically from, October to April, I'm working on the magazine with Chris.
Yeah.
And then, we do the hosting the camp at More Expo. And then usually the weekend before Labor Day, we go up to Copper Harbor and help out with a trail cleanup. We've done that for like 5 years now. There's an organization up there called CORC, Keweenaw Outdoor Recreation Coalition, that
Cork.
does,
I love it.
yeah, they do camp out, or they do cleanup spring and fall. Cool thing is too is they're on that program now with Gaia with the Trail Karma, that if you go and click on that link and donate to their organization, Toyota's going to match that.
Okay, cool.
So if you find that High Rock Bay route on Gaia. So then after that cleanup, which is fun because we get together and we just, have a camp out, we go to the cleanup, and this year they took a 1948 Buick Roadmaster out of the woods that was buried in there. It had been there for a long
Trees
time.
growing in it and stuff,
Yep,
probably. Like, yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, shout out to Nate and Brandon for getting, and everybody else. The volunteers were awesome. And then, of course, the Midwest Women's Off-Road Weekend that we're doing this weekend. And then now the Range to Ranch, which is, in late June, right before Pacific Expo Northwest, hoping to,
First year this year,
yeah,
so exciting.
hoping to be able to, after our event, mosey on up to the expo and hang out there. Then we kind of take a break for the summer because I hate camping in the summer because of bugs and it's hot. We do have our annual patron camp out the first weekend of August, though, and that's always a lot of fun. We do stupid things, have stupid games, and give out Patron of the Year awards, which we spell Potty, no, Potty, the Potty Award.
Gotcha.
And then September rolls around and it's beautiful again, and we have the Keweenaw Overland Adventure Retreat up in beautiful Copper Harbor, Michigan at the Trails End Campground. We also do some air tours there.
Okay.
It's called Isle Royale Seaplanes, and they bring a 19 de Havilland Beaver float plane. They land it. Dude, there is nothing more satisfying than listening to the sound of that engine start up. Like, there is something about that sound that gets me so excited. Anyway, the thing that's cool about it, though, is the town of Copper Harbor is so small, and there's at one end, there's this big, a mile long lake. I don't know, it's Lake Fanny Hole, they call it. And the plane lands there 5 minutes from camp. You just watch it roll up, and you get to take a tour around the end of the peninsula and around there's a couple of islands off the tip of the peninsula and some lighthouses, and there was a sailboat that was shipwrecked, or whatever. They had run ashore. It's just amazing. It's so much fun. And then at the end, Saturday night, the owner of the campground comes down with this truck full of 8-10 foot logs, and he starts building a log cabin fire. He chinks out the little spaces and makes the log cabin. The logs all fit together, and then they chuck it full of big logs, just
And
chuck
it
it
just
full.
burns
And
big
you
and
can
forever.
see that thing from space. It is just amazing.
Yeah.
So that's the core event. Again, trail riding, clinics, classes, and stuff. And then October we do Overland the Red down the Red River Gorge. I don't know how familiar folks are with the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway, but they've done an amazing job. It's probably one of the few places besides Wisconsin that is expanding their trails. I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, 500 miles. They're going to double it again. Basically, county public roads that the local jurisdictions just can't afford to upkeep. And instead of closing them because they've fallen into disrepair, the Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway comes in, and this is my interpretation of what they do. They just be like, hey, we'll replace that culvert, or we'll keep this open. You don't have to close it, and you don't have to use any of your funds. And so they've taken the pressure off the local taxpayer base and bring tourism into the area.
I love that idea. I hate
And
to
it's all
see when
public
roads
roads.
when roads get closed, because for us, we're like, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Give us the challenge of the road, please.
Yes.
And it's the same with a lot of those little camp parks or state parks that get closed. It's just cut the gate and let us go camp.
Yeah.
That's all we want to do. But then I get it. Then there's so many things to that, like the homeless people that would come in and set up camp. And I get there's issues. I wish there wasn't, but it would be nice if they would let organizations take over that area to like a volunteer network, like you're saying, and take care of that, because then that takes the pressure off the state money, like you're saying. It puts somebody or a group of people kind of in charge of at least upkeep to make sure it doesn't get, trash everywhere, clean up stuff. Really, that's what the maintenance should be, is mainly cleanup.
They did
crews that
that
go through.
here with it's called the Mountain Fire Tower. They were going to, the Forest Service was going to close it. It needed extensive repairs. They were going to close it forever, tear it down. I don't know what. But a local group got together and said, no, we're going to raise funds. You're going to fix it. And so the Forest Service did. And then they turned it over and said, hey, here it is. Here's the key. You guys keep, open it at sunrise, close it at sunset. There's a foundation that takes care of repairs. But they did say, if it ever becomes to where, you can't repair it or it falls into disrepair, there's no funds, we will close it. But the local economy is, that was one
Keeps
of
it
their,
going.
yeah, that was one of their highlights. It's a cool fire tower, you learn some history and you can see for miles and, there's not many of those left open that you can climb.
There's not. There's very few that are actually still. And then we lost a few in fires. I know that some of the big fires in Canada and different places have taken some of the last remaining fire towers that are still up. So I know that there's organizations, especially up in Canada, because of following some of the channels there, that will actually go and rebuild those.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, okay, it burned down. It's not used. It's not functional. Like, it's not being used, but we still want that to preserve that history.
Yeah.
And to keep that kind of going. So people kind of know. What the way it was. And they're usually in the place that you want to do an overlook anyway. Like, they're usually in the best spots to see everything, because that's what you had to be able to do.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then back to the events, we usually in November partner with, we've done national forest cleanups up here in partnership with Tread Lightly. We did the BF Goodrich Outstanding Trails grant last year.
Nice.
And then the year before there was another program we did. But it's fun to meet with the local officers and talk with them and go out and take trash out of the woods. It's so sad that we brought back so much. I don't even know how big this dumpster was, but you can't fill it above the top. We had people jumping to smush it down. It was the giantest dumpster I've ever seen. In fact, we had this big trailer that we had to take back twice, because we had filled it with so much. And then at the end of the day, we came across this really, really large dump site, and we did what we could, but it was getting late, and we only had that dumpster. That's all we could fill. And some of us left defeated because we felt like we hadn't.
Hopefully, we don't lose you. Because I do want to know more. Okay, so I lost you a little bit. You were telling about jumping on the trailers.
I'm back.
And then 2 trailers. You had to take 2 trailers out because it was getting full. So that's where we lost.
We had to make a second trip with the trailer.
Gotcha.
It was just so much. We had filled up so much, within a couple hours, we went and dumped that off, and then went out and filled the trailer again, and then found even more stuff that we just. It was satisfying yet sad.
The sad part about that, what I have found in a few of the trails, like the K Trail here in Oklahoma, a portion of that got closed because of trash and different things like that. We found out it's the locals that cause that trouble. It's usually not the people that are traveling through the area, because usually most people that are traveling through an area like that are pretty respectful about things, but it's the local. That's why you see mattresses and TVs. Like, overlanders aren't coming out and bringing a mattress from home to set out at the trail, or a broken TV.
Wait. Vacation is not for bringing your couch out to the woods?
It's nice to have a couch out in the woods. Don't get me wrong. But take it home with you when you're done.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And I don't like to, point fingers. I mean, I've seen people there's overland groups behave badly.
Yeah, there's a few of us.
I've seen them leave their leavings in the middle of the woods with their teepee on top. I've seen them leave trash in a fire ring, so I'm not going to say we're perfect. Education is always, there's always opportunities to gently or kindly, tell people that, hey, let's take that in our trasheroo, or let's not leave that in the fire pit, But you're right.
You're saying don't call them out on social media?
I
You're
guess
not going to, but it's okay if somebody else does, right?
I would decide that on a case by case basis.
Case by case. Who is it? What is it? how
Yeah.
how 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 recent is my event coming?
Yeah. How close are we to a deadline?
Yeah,
Do I have to
exactly.
see them at the next expo? Are they going to be mean to me?
Gotcha. And that's that. Now, did you say that that's kind of in November? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, we usually do that. Like, oh, it's Overland the Red's in the middle of October. I got to have a
Yeah.
breather sometime.
Right.
And then you know it kind of works because the leaves are off the trees and you can see farther into the woods. So in theory, you could see more trash, but then the trash is also covered up by leaves. So I feel like I should bring a leaf blower whenever we go
Right.
out. But we usually put a big dent in it and come back full, which is again sad. But one thing this is what I'm gonna call people out on.
Okay.
I'm gonna call people out on this. If you're gonna show up 50 people strong for a freaking trail ride in the middle of the winter when it's blustery and blizzardy out, show up for a cleanup.
Yeah.
Like seriously,
On
you
a
know,
nice day, yeah. Show up for the cleanups.
I get it. People are busy. There are soccer games. There are this and that. But I mean, it's really disheartening for I'm going to speak for leaders in our community. We need other people to step up and say, I'm going to be a leader, as in like trail rides for events. Like
Hmm.
my friends Jill and Chris and I with 1941 Adventures, shout out. We admin the largest Jeep group in Wisconsin, and you would get 300 Jeeps that would show up for a camping weekend. And you want to break them up and send them out in
Yeah.
small groups, but nobody would volunteer to take out
To
groups.
lead the group, to take
Yeah,
a group
and
out.
they all wanted to show up and you do the heavy lifting for them.
Yeah.
We need some heavy lifters to step up. If you say I want to take a leadership position or I just want to learn, maybe more so I could lead a trail ride or something, reach out to one of us. Reach out to somebody and say, "Hey, I know you guys
And
do a
that's
lot."
something that you could use at all the events that you're
Mhm.
doing.
All of
You
us
know,
could.
yeah. And I'm saying you because I'm trying to like, hey, everybody, reach out to her, let her know that you're willing to be a trail guide, even if you don't know what you're doing yet.
Or I'm willing to come help clean something up. We did
Yeah.
have a wonderful group at the court cleanup a couple of weeks ago. That was awesome. We do have people that come out. It's just sad that it's the same people every time.
Yep. Yep.
When you have such a large pool of people that are in, or at least, watching, paying attention, participating, you know, maybe it's time to take it to the next level. If you feel like you want to learn more about Gaia, or come to an event, or ask questions. That's why these ladies groups are awesome. This event we're doing here is that they're learning, they're getting to the next level.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point because like for the classes that you do, like if you've got a weird skill set that is in line with the overlanding, like you can cook amazing on an open field, like whatever it may be, you may think it's not that big a deal, but it may be something that is a useful class
Yeah.
to teach people kind of, hey, look, this isn't something that because it's probably when you're teaching the class, it's probably something that you don't struggle with. So a lot of times you don't even know that that's something that needs to be addressed because it's something that you don't struggle with. So you may be just the person, you're like, oh, that's easy stuff. Well, if you think that, then you may be the person that needs to help educate
Yeah,
those of us that don't.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't just
I
keep
would
your mouth
love
shut
that
with
if
your hands
anyone has
underneath your
knowledge they
pockets
want to
sitting down.
share. Yeah. Or if they have knowledge they want to share, or if they want to learn more so that they can share, if that's kind of their
Yeah.
personality. Or if they want to come to a cleanup. I mean, even just something like I've had the last couple of years, a couple of gals that are just like, hey, for the women's weekend, do you need any help? And I've got like amazing ladies that have come out of the woodwork to do support, help out with the breakfast and the coffee, and it's a really awesome community that when you get all these offers for help and people just want to be part of it. So, but please, if you're
Yeah.
going to
But
show up
please
for a
show
trail
up to
ride,
the cleanup.
yeah, if you're going to show up to a trail ride, you should probably come to a cleanup. And I'm speaking about the groups that do that. I know
Well,
that.
I think if you don't if you don't help, if you don't participate, that should be I mean, I guess, yeah, that should be your volunteer thing. Like if you're not participating in helping with an event, if you're just absorbing the events, then the cleanup is the basic thing that you can help with. That probably is the biggest need. And it's an easy, just take a bag and, fill it up as you're driving down the road or at camps cleaning up, like, however, whatever the trail cleanup or the camp cleanup is that's going on. And then you're going to meet a ton of people and you're going to find more people to go camp with, to go trail with. You may find out that there's campsites you didn't even know were there because you came and met people or discovered these campsites as you're cleaning up the freaking camps.
Yeah. Well, and the fun thing about it too is it's not just a cleanup, it's a trail ride. You got to ride the trails to go
it's
clean
a hangout.
Yeah.
You're going to hang out.
Like back to our Langlade County trails, early in it was April 4th, this horrible ice storm came through and the trees were all just down everywhere. My dad was without power for 5 days. I think it was even worse in Michigan. But we had people come out and help clean up the trails, and they got to ride the new trails and learn all about them and meet new people from all over the state and just have a fun weekend.
Maybe I need to figure out something I can do to do like volunteer shout outs. Send me a picture of you cleaning a trail, of you something, and then do a shout out on the show.
That's kind of a cool idea.
That might, and even like thinking about it, even in Northology, you could do volunteer shout out, submit a picture, tell us a story about the trail you cleaned. We'll have a little section that we pick somebody each time or a group and we post it on there. And then that pats you on the back, but it also may help get more people to go to that cleanup and to be a part of that organization, that volunteer group, to help out more. So that's, I think, in the leadership part, that's something that maybe we can do, pat people on the back a little bit more. We don't do enough of that probably for the volunteers and stuff. So yeah, just kind of thinking about that, how, because for me, it's like, how can I get involved? I'm in Oklahoma. We don't have a lot of trails here. We don't have a lot of cleanups because there's not a lot of trails to drive here. So if we're going to do that, we're going to Arkansas. So what's something I can do that's easy that I can jump on and help? And I think that maybe doing a volunteer spotlight would be worth it.
Very good things to think about. I will definitely, maybe we should chat about that later.
Yeah, we could totally do that. Well, we've hit our hour, so this has been a blast. Is there anything that we didn't hit that you need to before we get off of here? Or we kind of, I think, covered most things.
Whenever I think about you, I think about the More Expo, and it makes me all happy and giddy inside, and especially
it's always a good time.
As I think about one of these days, you are going to get back at Aaron for spraying you with that fake bear spray.
Oh, do you know what's been the funnest thing?
And I hope I'm there to see it, because that was the funniest thing I have ever seen on film.
It was.
You were like, just your reaction.
I had no clue it was going to happen.
Yeah. And at first, am I right about this? At first, did you think it was actual bear spray?
Yeah, I did. I really did, because he was so close, and the pressure, because my eyes were wide open. Like I saw him kind of messing with that, and I was like, and then he was like, have you ever seen this work? I was like, I know how it works. We don't need to. Yeah, I know how it works. And I was thinking in my head real quick, like, there's no way he's going to spray that in here. Like all these people. And then, and I was like, so it was the push of air, because it was the training spray, did kind of make my eyes kind of itchy a little bit, just the irritation of that. So yeah, I thought he got me at first. And then him and Lee had worked that out, and he was like, I don't know Michael that well, and I'm worried that he's going to come across this chair and just get me. And Lee was like, that's a risk you're going to have to take. He goes, but it's going to be funny as hell. And it was so funny. What I've enjoyed the most since then is that he gets really nervous when I'm around.
He never knows when that revenge is coming.
And at this More Expo, I don't know that he knew I was coming. He may have.
Yeah, because you let the secret out that you're like,
yeah.
don't tell anybody. I'm gonna
Yeah.
surprise
Oh, we
everybody.
have to hit on
And
that
then you're
here in
like,
a second because that's
oh,
pretty funny.
yeah.
But I came up around him, came up behind him, and I was like, "How you doing, big boy?" And he was like, "Oh crap."
Crap. Is this
So that's kind of been. I mean, I'm gonna get him, and it's gonna be unbelievable. Like it's when I do it, it's gonna be such a thing that it's yeah.
and I
Everybody will know.
trust 100% that when you do it, it's gonna be on film. It has to be.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There will be more than one camera going. Like I want multiple angles. I want all of it. I want the lead up to it. I would even love for there to be kind of like a little like, he doesn't even know it's going to happen. Like, look at the gazelle out on the trail. Like, he doesn't even know that there's a predator right behind him that's going to just
Crikey.
smother him. Like, that's kind of, I want that as I'm getting ready to do
Oh.
whatever it is that I may do to him.
I am so sorry, Aaron, that I am cheering for this revenge, but it's gonna be amazing because what you did was just off the charts.
It was so good.
The
It was
funniest
so
thing
good.
I've ever
I
seen.
play that thing all the time.
I'm gonna have to
I
go check
show
it.
it to people. Mason Berry's mom will send that to me every once in a while. When she sees it, she'll tag me and send it to me and be like, I laughed so hard again. I laughed again until I cried. Okay, so yeah, whenever I came back from Alaska, thank you so much because you were going to hold that secret for me. And then Lee said, so I contacted you. I hadn't even talked to Chris or anybody yet. They just knew I was in Alaska and that I wasn't going to make it. And then I contacted you and said, I'm moving back and I'm going to make it in time to go to the event. Save me a camping spot. Don't tell anybody. And I want it to be a big surprise. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to show up. Well, then Lee said he wasn't going to go. So I was like, MFer, you're the reason why I'm trying to keep this a secret, you know? And so he was like, well, I'm not going to go. And I was like, well, I'm going. And then he was like,
What?
oh man, he didn't say anything yet. He was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're going. Sorry, I'm not going. And then Molly was going to have to be in a jazz thing. So I had to tell him when he told me he wasn't going. I guess when he told me he wasn't going, I was like, well, I'll go ahead and let you know. I am going to make it. Like that's when I told him I am coming. And too bad you're not going to be there. And then at that point, I was like, might as well just let the cat out of the bag because it's a hard secret to keep.
Yeah.
And I told you, and you were like,
Two
oh,
people,
thank God.
two people can keep a secret if one of them's dead.
Totally. Anyway, well, that was fun. Had a blast at Moore. Had a blast seeing you. I'm so glad to be back. Alaska was amazing. It's kind of one of those things that Alaska is a good trip to go on. I like living there, but as far as overlanding, once you've done it, you kind of done it. You know, you're just going back to the same places again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask my friend Mandy because she took like a whole 9-month tour of the US and ended up in Alaska and did that all in her Tacoma with her dog and her
Nice.
motorcycle.
I
And
think it's Vermont because it's a smaller state. There are more roads in Vermont than in Alaska. More
I
miles of
believe it.
roads.
Yeah.
Alaska's huge, but it's so hard to get to any of it. So if you're a hiker, then it's great, you know, because you can
Yeah.
hike everywhere. If you're even a four-wheeler side by side, there's a lot of trails. If you're a snowmobile/snow machine, like what do you call it?
I call it a snowmobile, but I think people out west call them snow machines.
Alaska, they call it snow machines. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no. A snow machine is the thing that moves the snow. For me, it's the thing that moves the snow. Anyway.
Like
And
the
a
groomer
snowmobile
on
is something you
ski
get
hill.
on and ride.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, there's just fewer roads up there. So you think that there's just a lot, and there's a lot. I go back and forth. There's a lot to do, but as far as the overlanding and a lot of the places that you'll camp are like right off the road. Like
Yeah.
it's like there's the road, there's where you're gonna camp because there's just not a whole anyway. Alaska's
I
amazing.
totally
Go.
agree with you though about flying up there and renting something.
Yeah. Why waste your time getting there?
Yeah, I got to meet Craig at Pacific Expo Northwest last year. super guy.
He's
I
kind of
know.
tall.
Yeah. And half the people I know that have gone up there have rented from them, so they've had a great experience. And I want the Tundra with the Alu cab, so
I'm going to tell you a funny story about Craig when we get off. So, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming and listening. We appreciate you. Now, Cindy, tell everybody where they can find your social medias and just where they need to go to find stuff that you are involved with.
I have a website, northologyadventures.com. There you can find the magazine. You can find all of our events. I'm kind of crazy on Instagram. You can find Northology Adventures. We have separate Instagram for our core event, our Overland the Red event, and Range to Ranch. Just because that's super fun to do those channels
Yeah.
dedicated. And then, yeah, I mean, what else is there? I do have a YouTube channel that I keep saying, man, I'm gonna make some videos and put some content out there, and
You're too busy.
I haven't quite, yeah. I kind of, I mean, there's some fun stuff on there, and if you're interested in the events, I've got playlists of the events,
Yeah.
so you can go see what they're about through the eyes of, like, Cottywample, Ozark, Revere, all those, and then other people that have Jeremiah from Overland Pioneers that have gone to the events and documented them, like in their own style and through their eyes.
Mhm.
But yeah, I should probably do some more stuff like that. I guess I also have a Patreon.
There you go. Yeah. Join the Patreon, get involved, help out.
If you're going to go to an event, it's totally worth it because we've got discounts on events and merchandise. So,
Oh, that's a great
that'll
idea.
pay
Yeah.
for the event. And then also you get to see more cute pictures of my dogs and, some of the inside in scoop, where we're going. Big thing that the patron, like, all the patrons are going to get to go to Big Iron for free. All of my patrons.
Really?
So we're gonna, yeah, we've worked out a deal with Chris to get our patrons into Big Iron Overland Rally. We're gonna have a big old convoy coming down from up north, and we're gonna set up camp and all camp together, and we're gonna have a great time. So if that's something you want in on, obviously, for $5 a month or $10 a month, you get a lot of benefit just
And this
from,
will be the 5th year of Big
yeah,
Iron. Yep.
super excited. And actually, we've are the live music for Range to Ranch is sponsored by Big Iron. So big shout out and thank you to them. I'm so glad it's not in June anymore because I almost died that one year. I think I almost melted.
Yeah. 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 Well,
Um,
I'm excited. I'll be back. I was there the first year. I guess that's the only year that I went. I was MC. So I'm going to be the MC again, helping
awesome.
Chris with all that. So you'll have to see my face in between the bands and yelling and screaming and telling everybody what's going on. So that'll be kind
Fun.
of fun. I enjoy doing that. I'd love to do more of that in the future. So hopefully that works out. We've got a few. I've been bad. Okay. Go check out the chat.
I noticed there was chat, and yes, Corey, Bill is a jerk. Yes, we do have a magazine and more expo. Just jumping in. Sorry we're late. Who's joining us on the KC to Ranch convoy? Chris actually has an event. So if you want to go search for that, I think he's giving away a ticket too.
Nice.
So if you go on his convoy or if you use his link, you might get your ticket for free, even if you've already bought it. We'll
Well,
figure out a
very
way.
good. Well, hey, I got to tell you, I love this community. I love what you're doing to help grow it and inspire it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right back at you, buddy.
Well, thanks. Everybody out there, thank you so much for jumping back on this. I know it's been a while since we've done this. I'm super happy to have Cindy on here, good friend. I had Chris on here, so I had Cindy. So trying to get my friends on here first. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Everybody out there, make sure that you go over and go over. Make sure that whatever you do,
All
you
over.
go all over. Wow. I'm out of touch or out of touch, but out
You're
of
a little rusty.
I'm a little rough. And I didn't drink enough whiskey. That's probably the other
That's
issue.
probably
So
what it is.
anyway, well, thank you very much. Everybody out there, thank you so much. We're going to be shutting this one down.